Hey guys, good morning. It's Halloween. It's October 31st. And today we're going to be trying to catch some largemouth, early fall, mid-fall. And today we're going to do it on reaction baits. There we go, nice little guy on a jerkbait. Using the Spro McStick. And I really like this bait in the fall because it suspends really well in cold water. So, you know, the water temps are about 42 to 44. And the bait just does a good job out of the package. You don't have to use weights. You don't have to, you know, add heavier hooks and do all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are looking for a good fall jerkbait, that Spro McStick is a really great choice. Yes. It's a nice 4.5. Ah, she's heavy. Stop. My hands are frozen. Stop. It's a nice one. So with water temps being in the, you know, the mid 40s, maybe to upper 40s, depending on your body of water, I don't really slow down a whole lot when it comes to, you know, the cadence. I still do my 1, 2, 1, and I just stick with that. You know, but as it gets colder, closer to 40, you definitely want to slow down your pauses so that those fish have time to come up and eat the bait. It's not necessarily that they won't hit it when it's that cold. It's a lot of the times people don't give them the chance to move. It's cold, you know, they're cold-blooded. They're not gonna be able to dart out and grab something like they normally would in spring or summer. So you're still attracting them with the erraticness of the jerkbait, but you also have to allow them to move. And you know, they're not going to go too far up. They generally probably won't go down at all. They might come up a little bit for the bait. So you know, one of the things I struggled with in the past was trying to find out, you know, how much do I reel the jerkbait down? Do I let it go down to its full, you know, capabilities at 6-7 feet? Do I just let it hit the water and start your retrieve? You know, the best way for me to break down or at least get a couple of bites going is to allow the jerkbait to dive at least half of its depth. So if it's a 6 to 7 foot diver, if you can crank the handle a good 3, 4, 5 times, get it down to that mid depth, it's a good place to start, and it will allow you to, you know, expand that. If you get a bite, you're probably doing the right thing. It's just, if you're catching small fish, move spots, because a lot of the times this part of the year, those fish in similar size ranges tend to group up. So if you're on that 1.5, 2 pound fish, go ahead and keep, you know, see if you can get a little bit of a pattern going with the depth that they're sitting in. And then if those smaller fish are up shallow, generally speaking, those bigger fish are going to be a little bit deeper. So see, this is exactly what that fish was sitting in. And this is exactly why you want to have a jerkbait tied on in the fall. If you're buzzing the shoreline like you normally do, you're probably not running into green grass like this. You're probably running into decaying vegetation. And that's not necessarily where those big fish are gonna hang around. They're gonna go a little deeper. They're gonna look for that vegetation that's green, and that's where you're gonna start your hunt. You really want your jerkbait to either suspend or nose down and sink just slightly. You don't really wanna have a jerkbait that rises when it's this cold, simply because generally the fish are a little bit deeper than they normally are, right? From spring, or summer. And so what's happening is they'll nose down to grab something only if it's like within a very, very short window. So if anything, you want it to be as close to them as possible, and you don't want the bait to rise away. If anything, you want it to sit flat, or you want it to be a little bit nose down and have the bait sink just ever so slightly. Not like a rock, but just very, very slowly. So you can adjust your bait with, suspending dots or other pieces of, lead, like they have with the golf clubs. They have those little, elongated pieces of lead for their weight systems. And so one thing you can do is go to the nearest shoreline that you're on, right? I'm very, very close to the shoreline here. I see weeds. There's a little bit of bare spots and stuff like that. And what you want to do is you kind of just want to get off to the side of that to where you can't see the bottom. So what you're essentially going to do is you're going to fish that line from where you can see what's in the water to where you can't. And so those lines, a lot of those fish are going to sit just off of that. So you're giving yourself a high percentage area to start fishing jerkbaits with. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's where the fish are going to stay, and it also doesn't mean you're going to, it doesn't always mean you're going to find fish on it at all times, but it's going to give you a really good place to start. And if you can't see the bottom, chances are that's where some of those bigger females or some of those bigger largemouth are going to sit. So now that you kind of know where you're going to start fishing, what kind of bait you really need, and the action in the water, the next thing to do is hit the trolling motor and start going. There's a couple of different retrieves that I do. The 1, 2, 1. It's very simple, and I can do that all day long and you'll catch fish. Some people do 1, 2, 3. Some people add in really long pauses. But right now the water temps are upper 40s. It looks like it's 48 right now. So these fish aren't necessarily so cold that they won't chase anything down and they won't be aggressive. So I'm not really worried about the pause so much at this point as I am just making sure that I'm giving the bait the right action. So what that means is when you go to do your cadence, whatever it is, it could be 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, doesn't really matter. The thing about it is that you need to give the bait slack line. So what a lot of people do is they'll throw the bait out and they'll just start working it really fast, right? Like, well, that's fine. You'll probably catch some fish doing that. But the thing about it is you don't want to turn your reel handle, make your line tight, because that actually moves the bait in the water a little bit. It's not sitting still if you're doing that. So you want to hit it on slack line, let it pause, and then hit it again on slack line. Don't reel your line up unless you're literally moving the bait. That's going to get you a lot more bites. It's going to start attracting some of those bigger fish because they're so efficient. They don't have to chase things down right now if they don't want to. They're going to sit for the right meal. It's going to look good to them, and when the opportunity presents itself, they're going to eat. So give yourself some of that, that higher percentage, I guess, cadences, and making sure that the bait isn't moving in between your pops or your snaps. Another solid little guy right there. 2.5 pounds, little chunk. There, buddy. All right, guys, so that's it. That's gonna be a wrap on the video. Caught quite a few fish today that you saw, quite a few smaller fish, and we even ended up catching a couple of pretty good fish. So I think the biggest right about 4.5, 4 3/4 pounds. So, you know, water temps, they started at 42. They got up to about 48, 49 today. So depending on, you know, where you are on the lake, of course, shallower, it's actually going to be colder because there's less mix of water. But, you know, the jerkbait today that I used for the most part was a Spro McStick. This is Clown. What I will say about colors is that if you're gonna get McStick, particularly for the fall and colder water temperatures, make sure you do a mix of like something really, really bright and then also a really clear, almost translucent color. I have found that different days, you know, not today, but with different days, sometimes a color change can make a pretty big difference. So if you go with the McStick, pick up a couple of colors. I'll have that link for you guys if you want to check that out. The rod today is a 7-foot Abu Villain 2.0. This is actually one of my older rods. I just kind of use it for an all-purpose rod. So I have it paired up with the Daiwa. This is the TWS Tatula SVTW 7.3. Of course, you know, picking up some of that slack can really, really help after you hook those fish. You know, other than that, like I said, hopefully you picked up a few tips today. You know, the biggest thing is to get out here and like I said, don't let past circumstances dictate how you fish the body of water today. Don't spot hop. This is not a time to just go to spots that you've fished in the past with great success, because, you know, these fish are moving and they're going to continue to move. So try to intercept them, try to find new stuff. And, you know, once again, I think the jerkbait is going to be a phenomenal bait for you if you give it a shot. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next video.